My name's Michael Spall. I'm an instructional technology consultant at Idaho State University. And my talk's going to be about using Google Drive to manage our classroom recordings and how it's helped faculty. So back in the midst of time, thinking of like this last summer, last spring, way back in time, we had a process where we had 13 distance learning classrooms with encoders. And those encoders were essentially a PC with a video capture card and video and sound inputs into them. We're using flash encoder software, and the output was FLV. And on the encoders, we had a process that was using PHP and web forms to generate a schedule that the encoders could access. And then there was a program written in Flash that helps the video operators by parsing that schedule and populating the recording name and class and date and the suggested time. So if this was the distance learning classroom and the operator was starting it at 12:55 and the class started at 1, that class would pop up with the name and the date and everything. Publishing to the web server, it was a fairly simple Linux web server connected to a SAN. It runs a cron job that rsyncs files from all the encoders during the night. So under this system, and the reason I liked it that way was there wasn't passwords and all this stuff on all the various encoding machines. The server reached out and mounted the various Windows machines with the encoders and copied stuff over using Rsync. With any system, you had glitches or whatever. Occasionally an encoder would be turned off and we'd need Rsync files in the morning, which was easy enough to do because I would just log into the media server and run that the code that I used to Rsync. Accessing the videos, links were added to Moodle courses at the beginning of the semester, and we were able to do that programmatically because of the standard naming. We used class name and the day of the class to name everything, so we knew ahead of time, and we knew which folders everything was going to. So there was pluses and minuses to the way we were doing things. It was mostly easy once we got used to the process. There were errors. Encodings didn't get started or stopped on time. Things got recorded under the wrong name occasionally. But again, mistakes happen, but they weren't too bad. But teachers really didn't manage their videos. They could control links in their courses. And then it was always a question, we would tell them, we're keeping these videos on for so long. But was it really okay to remove the videos, And then storage costs and keeping the SAN up to date. This last fall, we recorded over 800 gigabytes of video. And I think it was over 800 the last spring too. Maybe it was just below 800 for that spring. When we first started doing it, it was about a third of that, but it quickly grew. I mean, but at 800 gigs, it's hard to keep up with that kind of storage increase price-wise. And then we were thinking of a lot of changes with the system, changing the encoder. One, so we would get something that was HTML5 video, changing the encoding size, and then also changing the media server because of end of life on the server. And then we'd also have to update the SAN, and that leads to, for us at our institution, there was a lot of cost because it seemed like there was a lot of churn, always having to buy a new SAN because the one went out. Some of the parts of the SAN were going out of warranty. So Google Apps for Education. We're a Google Apps for Education school, and we had Google Drive, and that equals free storage. We have unlimited storage. Then I don't have to worry about a SAN. And Google Drive also can free us up from the long-term managing of videos. If it ends up in the faculty member's account, I don't have to worry if I'm deleting the wrong video, and I don't have to worry about do they still need it one more semester. Google Drive converts the videos. That was one of the things that Randy really helped with the process, was analyzing it from the faculty member's perspective. And it takes a little bit of time for the videos to get converted when they get uploaded, but it's not days. It's a shorter time period than that. And it really varies. It varies by the size of the video and other things. But usually you're talking 20 minutes, tops an hour. And since we're copying videos in the middle of the night, it's not really an issue. And you can get plugins just like, similar to like how you can get browser plugins and everything. You can get add-ons in with Google Drive that you can do more types of conversion and even be able to edit the videos within Google Drive online. And you have control of the sharing settings. So you can share just to people in ISU, just to people in the class, no sharing at all, anyone with the link, all those kinds of things.
I have a question about that conversion. During that, does it downsize them? Is it lossless? Or
It's lossless. So it's the same size. Now, granted, I guess I haven't tried putting up a 4K video. I'm trying to remember. I know I've put up an HD, but that's the 1080p was the largest one that I put up, I think. I may have tried something a little bigger, so I didn't try anything like 4K because and it seemed now that you asked that question, it seemed like I looked into that, and that might actually get downsized to 1080p. But I would have to look into that again. But that is a good question of what happens. And but now the question is how to get videos into Google Drive. And drag and drop is not realistic, and we didn't want it to be a manual thing. We want automatic copying. I tested a few programs, and the first one that I thought was going to work, it didn't really behave like Rsync, and it had enough errors. And so we were testing by copying. It was close to the end of the fall semester, and we were testing by copying essentially the whole year's not the whole year, the whole semester's worth of videos over during the night, because we figured that would be a really good stress test to see if it could copy a night's worth. But tried some ones that in the end really weren't suited for the purpose that we wanted. They were fine. Settled on Rclone, and they're kind of like Rclone, Rsync for cloud storage. And the interesting thing about them, it's a command line program to sync files in directories, but they work with Google Drive, Amazon S3, OpenStack, Rackspace. They work with Dropbox, Google Cloud Storage, Amazon Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, Cubic, Backblaze, Yandex. I mean, some of these I didn't even know existed, right? SFTP. The other thing is to a local file system. You could even use it just to copy things around on a computer. Some of the features, it uses SHA-1 and MD5 to hash checks to make sure that the video was copied is the same, which is important in videos, because some types of files, if there's an error, you get part, right? There might be some loss in there, but with a video, a lot of times, if there's one little chunk missing, none of the video plays. So, and then timestamps are preserved on the file, so I really like that. That wasn't true of all the programs that I looked at. And that's handy because it helps tell if there's an error. So if we recorded something and it was supposed to be a biology, 11:01 on March 30th, and that class runs at 1, but the timestamp said that it was created at 8 in the morning, we know, that helps us figure out some of the errors that humans can make in this. Partial sync supported on a whole file basis. So, and that's really handy. So if it were to get interrupted, you can run the sync again and get everything over. And the other thing is it's not copying everything every time. Some of the programs were really copying everything every single time. This is only copying the differences, which is handy because we keep the whole semester's worth of recordings on the local encoding machine. We clean those off at the end of the semester. And then use copy mode. Yeah, just use copy mode to copy just the new changed files. You can, there's a sync mode, a check mode, so you can run a check afterwards to see if all the checksums match. You can actually sync to and from 2 different networks. So you could sync from Google Drive to like OneBox or whatever, and then it will bring the file down to the local computer and then send it up. So I mean, that would be network intensive and maybe not the best way to always do things, but you could copy from one cloud account to another, from like Google to Box. And then there's optional encryption. We don't worry about that, and you could it works with fuse mounting if that's of any interest to you. We don't worry about that. It's open source. There's active development on it. I just looked today. He made changes 3 days ago to the code. It runs on Linux, Windows, OS X, and a whole bunch of others. And a lot of that has to do with it's written in Go, Google's programming language. Initial setup on a machine to get permissions to access G Drive. It's really easy to use. Lu Hong, who's also here, helped me by setting it up on all the encoders and automating it with the Windows Task Scheduler. There's one thing with Task Scheduler, you can have things set to run whether the machine is logged in or only if the machine's logged in. It wouldn't work for whatever reason unless the machine was logged into. So after the last class of the day, a person can lock the screen, but they can't log out, because if you log out, then the files don't copy. But that doesn't seem, I mean, to me, that's not that big of an issue. So we tested this out. We knew it would work. We got it working. But would it work in the most important part? Would it help faculty? Would faculty be able to share the files, and would they be happy? So we emailed faculty to give them a heads up, and I think almost everyone, we didn't get tons of negative feedback. Most people were positive. I know some people were a little their first worry with any changes, because maybe they have been burnt by change in the past, is what's going to happen to all my old videos? And
I was just going to say something on that too. So one of the big issues was just understanding how to either link it into their Moodle course, the video, or how to share it with their students. And we created a video, emailed it out to the faculty that were using this process, and I think we only had 2 or 3 people actually look at it. Otherwise, everyone either figured it out or they did it wrong the first time. And then once they did it, then they were set to go, and they were good to go for the rest of the semester. So a couple emails, some phone calls at the start of the semester, but now they got it figured out, and it seems to be working well. The students like it. And I'm not sure if you're getting to this yet too, Michael, is we were using the Flash video format before, which is not a very good format, as you all know. And it was difficult for us to make those accessible. With the Google Drive, if you don't know, you can upload captioning files in there, and you can have it closed caption. So the accessibility issue was a concern for us too.
Mm-hmm. And so, like you said, we developed some training material. We had one of our very good student workers that's actually an instructional design major do that for us. And after initial recordings, we share the folder with the faculty. We send an email with how to share the folder or individual files. In my opinion, I think it's easier to share the whole folder because we keep adding new stuff. But a faculty member could decide to share with their students just the individual files. And we show them how to add those links into Moodle and everything. So I don't know if Robert made it here, but I put that in for his benefit. But I think it works great. We're very happy. Occasionally, faculty unshare a video by mistake or without understanding the consequences, and I think Randy alluded to that. But faculty have control of their material. And how long do you need to use this video for? I mean, I don't have to ask that question. Randy doesn't have to ask that question. We don't have to worry about that. I think that's one of the beauties of it. Another beauty is the cost savings, because when we're not going to have to upgrade the media server, and we're not going to have to pay for more SAN storage. Google's going to do that for us. And time for questions, but I mean, Randy did have a good point that I forgot to include in my presentation about accessibility. So FLV is not playable on every single device, but with the Google Player and its conversion, it is playable on devices. And then the accessibility issue. Flash is not the easiest thing to get captions working with, and it's very easy to add captions to this process. And the other thing that I didn't really break out is that all those changes, at one point we're kind of worried that we'd have to do it all at once. Change the encoder, do this, change all this process. And it was like, no, really, all those other things like which encoder we use, because Google's going to do the conversion, and how we caption things, and what the size and the format, all those changes can happen elsewhere or at different times, because all we have to do is make recordings and have them on these machines and run this process to push them to the cloud. So it's independent of all the other stuff. It's not we could tear this out and replace it with something different, and we wouldn't have to touch anything else, and vice versa. So I think we got this up and running in 2 weeks. And that included me finding the program. Lou was very, very helpful and got it installed on all the machines. He installed the first one that we didn't like so much, and then on a test machine, and then we switched to the other one, and boom. And have you had to do much maintenance on this program? No. So I know we have a couple questions.
So these videos were they classroom recordings, or were they the videos which the faculty had included in their Moodle courses? They're classroom recordings, and then sometimes faculty, like if they had a presenter like one year, they like to reuse those, and they would either, we preferred them to link to the media server, but sometimes they knew how to download them off the media server, and so they would upload them into Moodle. But we encourage people to not put large files in Moodle. It's not the end of the world, but just a long-term process. It's better for video not to be in your LMS, but link to it and use a real video player for, and that's true of any LMS.
Yeah, Michael, about 2 years ago, you guys were starting to look at a product for lecture capture.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the name of that product, but I was talking to Lou and Blake a little bit about, keep me in the loop, let me know what happens. And then from what I was able to put together, it was not a successful trial, and that you guys went in other ways. Is this the direction you headed?
Yeah, essentially. So we looked at least 3 classroom recording products, and I sometimes can't remember names. We were testing them all at the same time, and so sometimes it was like, was it X that had this feature or not? Some integrated with Moodle better than others, but they weren't. It wasn't necessarily the greatest. And then there's the cost issue, and I don't, not everyone could give me everything for free. I understand that, but for us, we're already into Google Drive. Why not use that resource?
These files are synced to Google Drive. You have a worker or someone working once they're up there to share them out and provide them, or are they synced to each of the appropriate Google Apps account already?
So the sharing of so one class is recordings, all go to the same folder. So biology 1101s always goes to the particular folder that would be called, like, for this semester it'd be biology 1101 underscore S17, because it's spring 17. And so they all go to one folder. So we don't have it programmatic to, like, when it initially creates that folder, which faculty member it needs to be shared with. So that's a manual thing we do after the first day of classes. And so, in some classes their first day is Tuesday. So Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning after that first week, we're sharing the folders with faculty and then sending out an email with that shared link and explaining how you need to share it. And so another point of confusion that kind of brings to mind is, so faculty will link directly to the file but not use the share link. I mean, and we've all either done something like that or worked with someone that's done something like that, because it's like, well, why can't I just give out the link? Oh, yeah, because I'm only sharing it to certain people, and that's the sharing link. But once you get that in your head, it's fairly obvious. So, I mean, there is an initial learning curve, but I'd say it's a little bump. Boom. And then
at the start of the semester, we had some really odd things happen. We had faculty trying to drag from their Google Drive the video into their course, thinking that would work. Well, kinda did.
It makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It does make sense, doesn't it?
Except for the amount of time, and it's amazing how many people do work on when they have very poor bandwidth. I mean, I'm sure. Well, I'll take your question.
Okay, so and I apologize if you covered this. I came in a little bit late. My question is because we're also using Google Drive in a similar way, and I guess my question would be, so when you have that link or it's been shared, you have the option of watching either the embedded video or downloading it. Has there been any concern from administration about FERPA laws of somebody being able to easily download that, and then they have that file to do whatever they want? Has there been any pushback from faculty or administration there?
No, and I know a lot of people have those type of concerns. On our previous media server, it wasn't obvious, but if you knew how, you could have downloaded the video. The thing is like, say I didn't share my presentation right now. It's in Google Drive. It's a slide presentation, or I brought up some video. If you can watch it on a screen, you can copy it. That's the thing is, so there's all kinds of things that as it plays, I'm just going to record it. Let alone just putting up my handheld my handheld camera. Now, granted, there's a loss of fidelity there, and maybe people don't realize how easy it is. But I mean, I think those are valid concerns. I think we answered it by that anyone that can watch this video could break FERPA regardless of how tight we made the controls. That's our answer. I don't know that everyone would be happy with that answer, but that's ours so far.
And we do have some faculty that upload some videos that have some HIPAA and FERPA concerns, and they'll upload them directly into their course that way.
Yeah,
Which
true.
we have the space to do that, and we can do that, but it's, we've been really promoting people to use their drive because of the.
Question, so when students are accessing these videos, if they're not being embedded in the course, are they clicking on a link and it's opening a Google Drive link and that's how they're viewing it? So it's basically running off of Drive? Okay, okay.
And so if the faculty member shares the folder, they click the link and there's a list of files, and it has the name of the course and the date and everything, so they know which one to watch, that they want to watch. If they're sharing individual files, they could that could be show up in the Moodle player, but it's just easier just to have it show up in the Google player, because it's not really streaming from Google unless you're using the Google player.
If you use the Google Player, though, are they able to, is it even working? Hello?
You won't hear yourself.
Oh, okay.
It's recorded.
Oh, yeah, sorry, no, that's good. So if you're using the Google Player, what I'm concerned about is the downloading. Because the program that I teach in, we're accredited, and that's one of the things that the FERPA issues are, they're going to bring those up to us. They're going to ask us about it. And so if you use the Google Player, does that mean that they can download it no matter what?
There is a way to restrict that.
Okay.
Settings for the
Okay,
people. Faculty member would have to go in and set it so that you would be able to download.
but you can do that.
You can.
Okay.
And then with your sharing options, you can figure out how you want to restrict that to individuals or to the whole university or whatever else you want.
Good.
So yeah, you can restrict the downloading, but in reality, that doesn't prevent that won't prevent a FERPA violation. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so Michael's right. I mean, somebody wanted to get that, they could.
Screencast it and.
Right, exactly. They could capture it no matter what they want to do. But there are hurdles
Yeah.
in place that you can put in to prevent a lot of that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like if there's considered a FERPA violation, it's like it's there in that original transmission in many ways, but it's in just the regular viewing. So, but yeah, I mean, these aren't always easy questions to answer, because I mean, we're the health sciences university, and so there's potential for HIPAA stuff to come up too. But it's somewhat the responsibility of the faculty to turn off recording in a classroom if there was stuff that shouldn't be recorded at all. Yeah, but I mean that's true of anything. Like if you were having a web conference that you were recording, and all of a sudden you were going to start talking, in its nursing faculty, and someone starts talking about, I have this condition, well, it seemed like there was another question.
Mine might be completely off topic, but I'm actually a nursing faculty member and at Great Falls College MSU, and I'm really struggling because this is actually only my third semester teaching straight out of being an emergency room nurse. And we got a grant because of the state of Montana trying to reach out to the rural areas. And so I'm struggling with, I have 6 distance students right now, and they're not online students, they're hybrid students. So do your faculty, when they're recording those lectures, are they doing like a WebEx kind of thing, or are they just recording, just speaking? I mean, I'm sure maybe this is completely different, but I'm just like.
No, well, so the recordings that we're talking about here are in a distance learning classroom where, like, it would be just set up like this, and there would be someone doing the job like the win-off person, instead of just recording, he would be connecting a distance site. So I would see up on a monitor the various distance sites, and so it's like a live classroom. There are faculty that do what the 2 types of things that you were talking about. They do lecture capture, and they like they'll run their PowerPoint, and you can either just use PowerPoint or Captivate or one of those things, and read through your PowerPoint. A lot of times faculty do that when they have to be gone to a conference or whatever. And then we do have some web conferencing tools. Like Zoom and Collaborate, and both of those can be recorded. And sometimes they'll have a meeting, and not everyone can be there at the same time, and they record those. So they do use both of those, and typically those video files are hosted inside the either Collaborate or.
And that's where I'm kind of going, is we use WebEx because that's what and it is probably the worst. As a faculty member, I hate it because I'm very jealous if you guys are converting those files and downloading it for faculty, because I have to leave my computer running every night so that it will convert to an MP4 so then I can upload it to YouTube, so then I can share it on D2L. It's like the worst process ever.
So yeah, our process, I mean, we evaluated a bunch of these web conferencing tools not too long ago. That was a similar type of project to the classroom recording ones, and we didn't go with WebEx, and I can't remember if that was what you described was one of the reasons why, but Zoom is very easy to use. A lot of people in education are used to Illuminate, which became Collaborate, and they like that. But that version of Collaborate that's like Illuminate, it's going away eventually. I mean, I'm not the company, so I mean, it's not like I can say that. But they're coming out with a new version, so I'm pretty sure the old version goes away once they get the new version up to spec. But yeah, I think so. We are not uploading content for faculty that they create themselves, but we do have a drop-in lab where faculty can come in and get help, and we actually have a room where they can record in. That's it's not like a soundproof room with perfect microphone. Yeah, it's a broom closet, but we do help faculty get those up, and I think that is an issue because, I mean, again, I don't know where you're recording, but if your bandwidth is slow enough, it can take a long time to upload some of those files. And like you say, waiting for the conversion. And that's, the conversion is fairly fast, usually in Google Drive. And and since this is happening, all our encoders have all those encoders have 100 meg connections to the internet, correct, Lou?
To the internet?
To
our network, it's gig connections.
Yeah, they have gig connections. So the videos upload to Google very fast, and that's actually something I guess now that I think about it, I could have included it. It's just like it's an assumption that I have because I know that the encoders have very fast connections to our network, and but that would be something to make sure whenever you're dealing with video, you need to make sure your network can handle whatever idea that you dream up. That's one of the biggest binds to media is bandwidth, because we're creating 800 gigs a semester, and so you could do the math how much is getting uploaded nightly, and on a slow connection, I'd have less hair.
You know, I would like to say, this is not our end-all, be-all. This is just taking what we had as far as homegrown encoders and making it do something that we couldn't do before. And so it helps out with our faculty, it helps us. So no, this is not the end, because we're still looking for a way to get better quality, inclusion of more metadata within our recordings and things like that, which this doesn't really help us with, but it's an evolution.
And I think that was one of it, because Lou has wanted to increase the resolution for a while, and Lou and the other classroom AV people have wanted to go all digital, and I think you guys are slowly doing that, right? But as you increase that, the storage goes up. So that's the nice thing about this, and the fact that it wasn't it's not like I had to wait. Lou didn't have to wait for me, and I didn't have to wait for Lou. We could do this piece of the puzzle and improve the other parts when we get to it. No more questions?